වරෙන් යන්න අපිත් එක්ක කන්න බොන්න hina වෙන්න බයිලා නැත්තම් හිප් හොප් කියන්නම් ඔළුවෙන් හිටගෙනම සතයක් පන් නැතුව නොමිලේ හොඳට hina වෙන්න සල්ලි කියා තම මල්ලි මරාගෙන රණ්ඩු කරාගෙන ජීවත් වෙන අය ගැන ඇහුවා දැනගත්තා කලකිරුණා බඩට ගැහුවේ කවුද ඔරවන්නේ මොකද චන්දි කියාගෙන ගැන්සි හදාගෙන සද්ද දමාගෙන දත් නැතුව බත් කාපු අය දැකලා දුක හිතුණා පරක්කු නෑ තවම හිත හදාගන්න බැරිද වරක් කිව්වා හොඳ සැපක් ඕනේ නම් බකන් නිලම් මොකද වරෙන් යන්න අපිත් එක්ක කන්න බොන්න hina එන්න බයිලා නැත්තම් හිප් හොප් කියන්නම් ඔළුවෙන් හිටගෙනම කවුද කිව්වේ දෙනින් ඇඳන් ජෙල් ගන්න සාක්කු වල මොනරු ගෙන්න ඉයස් පහයි නෝතුනකුයි ඇති කෙල්ලේ දාගන්න ජීවත් වෙන්න ජීවය මෙන්න ජීවත් වෙන්න කඳුළු පුරවාගෙන දවසම අඬන්නේ මොකටද බොක්කින්ම ලව් කරලා බැඳලා බෙර ගහලා ලොවට පෙන්නාපු කෙල්ලෝ හලපු පොරවල් දැක්කා දැන් තැන්වල පච වෙනවා බැරද්ද කාගේද නීතිය අපි කාටත් එකද ජාති ජම්ම කුල බේද පටලවපු අපේම සමහර සුදු ඇඳුම ඇඳගෙන අසරණ යට දඬුවම් කෙරුවා පරක්කු නෑ තවම අපිට වෙනස් වෙන්න බැරිද වරක් කිව්වා හොඳ සැපක් ඕනේ නම් බකන් නිලම් මොකද වරෙන් යන්න අපිත් එක්ක කන්න බොන්න hina එන්න වයිලා නැත්තම් හිප් හොප් කියන්නම් ඔළුවෙන් හිටගෙනම කවුද කිව්වේ දෙනින් ඇඳන් ජෙල් ගන්න සාක්කු වල මොනරු ගෙන්න ඉයස් පහයි නෝතුනකුයි ඇති කෙල්ලේ දාගන්න ජීවත් වෙන්න This is where you wanna be. It's everything you ever want. It's everything you ever need. And it's here in front of you.
close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me, that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say you've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
Newspapers, amazing stories from around the world.
A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
Come join the great American Railroad. 3 meals a day, roof over your head, fair and ample wages. Come, make your fortune. See the open plains of America. Opportunity awaits you, sir, out on the rails.
She'll be back. Sooner or later, she'll tire of your life, of having nothing, and she'll come running back home.
Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take.
Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
However big, however small, let me be a part of it all. Share your dreams with me. You may be right, you may be wrong, but say that you'll bring me along to the world you see,
To the world I close my eyes to see. A
I close my eyes to see. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head.
A million dreams are keeping me
A
awake.
million dreams, a million dreams. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
For the world we're gonna make.
Good morning. My name is Tim McGreevy. I'm going to be your Master of Ceremonies for the closing session of the Global Pulse Confederation meeting that we've had here in Colombo, Sri Lanka. I really love The Great Showman. You got a chance to see some of the great talent for the young and old as well in Sri Lanka, a very famous group. And The Greatest Showman, right? We are here as an organization, right, to feed people and also to feed people's dreams. So I think it was appropriate, right, to have this song kick off our Thursday meeting. Before we get to our panels, I want to run through just a little bit of the opportunities that we are seeing in our world, especially in the West, and certainly it's going to spread throughout the world, right? The Greatest Showman. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, it's really fantastic. Oh, Angela, you might have to help me advance. There we go. All right, so starting with a quote here from Buddha. Of course, we celebrated a Buddhist holiday here in Sri Lanka on Monday, and I love this quote: "What you think, you become; what you feel, you attract; and what you imagine, you create." And this organization in 2016 took a huge leap forward, really, as an industry with the International Year of Pulses. And you've seen this slide before, but this was the total reach that we had in the North American campaign that was sponsored by the American Pulse Association, Pulse Canada, and the USA Dry Pea and Lentil Council. But what you may not get and understand is it had a huge impact on our own domestic consumption. In fact, to the point that we had over 600,000 metric tons of increase over the past 4 years with this International Year of Pulses. And so we've been continuing to do, as a coalition between our organizations, to study consumer research and find out where our opportunities are. This is a chart that was established by the Matson Group out of San Francisco, and it shows the number of vegans, vegetarians, which are about 6% of the population, but there's 20% of the population right now that is showing that are flexitarians, right? And 65% are just playing the field and eating whatever they want. But we have a real opportunity with our organization and the coalition that we've created to really attract flexitarians to our cause. Over almost 50% of the U.S. population now considers themselves to be flexitarian, and that is what's driving this change in North America for increasing these foods. Of course, in Sri Lanka and India and all the South Asian subcontinent, we've seen this huge growth and huge consumption of these crops. But in North America, it's really quite new and very low consumption levels, but it's coming up. So next thing I'd like to talk about is meat substitutes, because there's exciting things happening on the technology side. You know, Americans, Canadians, we like burgers and we like to grill. But we are seeing some tremendous opportunities in meat substitutes. And I want to show you just a short clip on Beyond Meat and the opportunities that we have, and it tastes just like a good burger. Hit it. This new breed of burger, right, is meat-free. And it also, one of its main ingredients is peas. And look at this burger. You can't hear the sound, but it actually sizzles. There it is, right there. And it looks just like a burger, and it tastes pretty darn close as well. So the opportunities, the innovation that's happening in North America right now is just unbelievable. And not only that, we're seeing major meat companies now who are actually investing in the company that you just saw that video clip on. They've bought a major stake in Beyond Meat. Tyson is the largest meat packing company in the world. And Beyond Meat, they just bought a big stake in. So the opportunities that we have are just almost unbelievable and endless. This is a chart that shows the amount of new products that hit the shelves in 2016 and 2017, our year of the half-cup habit. We've generated over 1,100 and 1,200 new products coming on the shelves using pulses as an ingredient and in their whole form. So, as we conclude this, right, there is a pulse revolution happening, and we do have a pulse celebrity baby. This happens to be my first grandchild, Finley Marie. And I want you to know how properly branded she is. On her shirt, it says Little Lentil, right? And so she is fantastic, and she is going to lead the world in terms of the future of the pulse industry. She's cute, and she is our future. So I want to introduce the first panel of our Thursday morning, the Black Matpe and Pigeon Pea and Mung Bean Global Outlook panel. I want the panelists to come to the stage. Our moderator for today's session is Sunil Patwari. We also have panelists Sham Nasaria, Bharat Kulkarni, Muhammad Ali Balagamwala, and G. Chandrasekhar. So please come to the stage, give them a warm welcome for this global session.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, our friends from different parts of the world. Warm welcome once again to this session of the last day and the morning session, which is one of the toughest sessions because people generally hang around, do networking with friends late night, and coming to the panel in the morning is an honor for us. Thank you for joining. Team has already introduced my panel, but I'll just do a quick one once again. We have a very fantastic panel today, very, very experienced people who have been in their industry since long. I would start with Mr. Chandrasekhar. He has been writing, fighting, anything for pulses. He is one person who speaks independently to the government body, to the media, whatever is required. And he'll be helping us today to cover total Indian demand and supply. We have Mr. Shyam Narsaria. He's from Myanmar. He has been based in Myanmar, if I'm not wrong, more than 17, 18 years, and has got extensive experience in Myanmar pulses. The current products, what we have today, pigeon peas, mape, green mung, these are quite dominant for Myanmar. So Shyam has got a very important role to play for Myanmar production, demand, supply, balance sheet. Then we have Dr. Bharat Kulkarni. I met Dr. Bharat about 15 years back when he was establishing ECX. He was part of ECX team in Ethiopia. And recently we did a common presentation in IPGA India. And I requested him to be part of our team and to do a presentation on Africa. And Mr. Ali Balgamwala, he's from Pakistan. He'll be doing a S&D for Pakistan. So we'll start with our presentation now. And we have done a very quick production statistics, and I would like to share that. So we'll just start with pigeon peas, turol, which is also known as arad in India. So different part, they call it differently. But the main consumption for this product is India. And this product totally depends on India. So as per the current figures, what we are expecting, I'll just run 2017 figures, because 2018 in some countries is already out and some countries forecast. When we say forecast, it's more like India and Africa, and Myanmar is already out. So the production for 2017, the total production was 4.8 million tons. 2018, we are expecting 3.6. And there is a demand of close to 3.5 million tons. On detail, because this is more Indian-centric, so I'll request Mr. Chandrasekhar later to cover in his speech. And this is for pigeon peas. Then we have black mape, which is known as udad in India and marsh in Pakistan. Again, the main production and demand is out of India. We have other country also active. So the total production is 3.8, which will forecast to reduce about 3.45 in 2018. And the consumption is 3.67. This figure is something to note, which is very, very interesting. 2018, we are expecting a production of 3.45 and demand of 3.67. If you see in demand, there are countries like Bangladesh. Bangladesh was buying very less. They have started buying, importing more because the price is very low. Black mape, we have traded as high as $2,000. This year we are trading $400. It's 20% of the value. In GPC ECX meeting, we are talking about increasing demand, consumption of pulses. We can see it's happening. As and when the prices are low, the demand increase. Pakistan, they consume close to 100,000 tons. Bangladesh have started eating more. Nepal, their own consumption is small, but currently they are becoming very prominent because of India. India, they put a lot of restrictions, so Nepal is becoming prominent. And so I think next year would be a big challenge for black mape if the current policy continues. If India comes to buy, I won't be surprised that we are again selling black mape in 1,000, 1,005. Anything can happen. What's happening in Myanmar, again Shyam will cover, I'll just give you a brief. Basically, overall farmers are deciding to slow down. And that's why you can see the figures here. 2018 we are saying 0.45, maybe 2019 it can be much more lower. This year 20% down, 30% down. Certain commodities are like almost 50% down next year. It's really, sometimes I'm finding it very scary. Green Moong, we have covered few countries because it's again a very, very dynamic commodity with a lot of countries involved. And we could manage to more focus on the countries which we are doing for Udad and Turol. So India close to 1.7 and the demand is currently almost like 2.3, 2.4. I'm talking about only these 4 countries. We are not covering China, Uzbekistan, and Green Moong is like produced in maybe 10, 15 more countries. So we don't have a very specific and clear data, so we have not compiled in this. So overall, Green Moong is quite active these days because China is very active in the market. And because of China, the prices are high, demand is good. So overall, this commodity is looking a bit bullish. So this is on Green Moong. And before I hand over to my panel, I would just like to once again thank GPC for evolving it such a nice way. I have been involved with Cystal Iptex since about 17, 18 years. And every year I see it's becoming more and more interesting, more systematic, more planned. Thank you so much to Mr. Hussain and his dynamic GPC entire team. Without this team, we cannot be having such a beautiful event, nice day. Everything is getting better year by year. Thank you GPC team for giving us such a nice event, and we hope you'll have much more interesting thing coming up with GPC. We're talking about app, we are talking about LinkedIn. If you need a job, we are looking at GPC profiles. So a lot of interesting things are coming up. We have to just wait and see. And from here, I would like to start with Mr. Shyam Narsaria to take over for Myanmar and give a balance sheet of Myanmar, and then we'll take over one by one. Thank you. Shyam.
Good morning. I start with Myanmar. The production of black mape, two-hole, and green moong bean is equal to 80% of Myanmar's pulses production. And Myanmar used to export 75% of its pulses production to India. But the severe restrictions by India limiting the import of black mapte, two-hole, and green mung bean has quickly and adversely affected the Myanmar pulses market. This has put a lot of pressure on Myanmar producers who rely on export to India. To start with black mapte details, the average export of black mapte from Myanmar is 600,000 metric ton. In the year 2017, the export of black mapte was 550,000 metric ton. The carryover stock in 2018 was 150,000 metric ton, and the current year production, that is of 2018, is 450,000 metric ton. So the current year's availability is 600,000 metric ton. Now, recently we see India allowed import of 150,000 metric ton of black mapte. The procedure of that to be notified by the government. And say 250,000 metric ton can be exported to other countries like Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and UAE. And another 50,000 metric ton can be exported as processed pulses. So Myanmar is still left with 150,000 metric ton of black mapte for the year 2019. For Turhole, the average export of Turhole from Myanmar is 250,000 metric ton. In the year 2017, the export of Turhole from Myanmar was 250,000 metric ton. The carryover stock in 2018 was 100,000 metric ton. And the current year production, that is of 2018, is 150,000 metric ton. So the current year's availability is 250,000 metric ton. Out of this, around 100,000 metric ton can be exported to countries like Nepal and UAE. And another 50,000 metric ton can be exported as processed pulses. So Myanmar is still left with a surplus of 100,000 metric ton for Turhole. And in the last recent notification, India did not give any details for the import of Turhole for the current financial year. Coming to green mung bean, the average export for green mung bean from Myanmar is 300,000 metric ton. In the year 2017, the export was at par with 300,000 metric ton, and there is no carry forward stock for the year from the year 2017. The current year production is expected to be 350,000 metric ton, and there is good demand for green mung bean from the China market. And Myanmar is not dependent on India for green mung bean export. Most of the green mung bean exported to China is through the Myanmar-China border trade. Now, evaluating the current scenario, means what it is going on, the price which is going on in the current market, we can say the black mapte production is expected to be down in 2019 to around 200,000 metric ton. Turhole can be down to 50,000 metric ton. But green mung bean production can go to 400,000 metric ton because there is a consistent demand from the China market. So we can say, to conclude, we can say for black mapte production can be down to 1/3 of the actual production, what is the average production. Turhole can be down to 1/6 of the average production, but black mapte for green mung bean we can see 30% rise in the production as there is a good demand always from the China market. Over to Mr. Sunil.
Thank you, Shyam, for giving a very good outlook. I would like to just ask one or two more questions here. When you are saying the production is coming down, so what Myanmar is going to replace this one with? That is my first question, because I understand Myanmar land is very fertile. Myanmar is known as a country of golden land. It rains almost 6 months in Myanmar. The land is so fertile, it is naturally organic. You put anything there, you get a crop. So it's really a very, very auspicious, because they believe in a lot of religion, and the land is very lucky for them. So that is my first question. And the second question is, when you say the production, like I'm finding it really scary for Black Mape and Turhol. When you say Turhol 50,000 ton, and say 1 year India is a shortage, and when we come to Africa, we'll know what's happening in Africa. We'll again get a surprise package. So what prices do you see will happen, say post 2019, post India election, if there is one bad crop or bad rain? So these two questions I have for you, Shyam.
Coming to your first question, like the cost of production in MEMA for Turhol is somewhere between $350 to $400. The current price of Turhol in MEMA is around $290 to $300. And previously it went down to say $250. So because of the loss to the farmers, they will definitely switch to other items, like for Turhol will replace sesame seed or maybe yellow maize. In Black Mape area, they will switch to green moving and maybe groundnut or maybe a sunflower. And your second question is?
The price, if the production falls so much, and if one bad crop, say in India, so what do you expect price to happen? Do you see the prices of 2016, 17 coming again on what is there? And then maybe during Mr. Chandra's time, I would ask him that how he see India would react on that.
See, the MEMA almost adjusted its production. For the year 2018, you see the production is less by 25%, and Turhol is less by 50%. For 2019, there will be even lesser production. Now the India market is on more pressure because of the lower prices in Myanmar. As we can see, the production of Black Mape in 2019 will be 1/3, and Turhol will be 1/6. I think that will be sufficient to export for other countries. So MEMA will not be in pressure to supply. Whatever the demand will be there other than India, MEMA have that cargo. So in 2019, again, I think the prices will be well above the MSP prices in India.
Okay, thank you, Shyam. I will now request Dr. Bharat Kulkarni. He would give us an outlook on Africa. Bharat bhai.
Thank you, sir, and good morning to all of you. If you look at Africa, especially in the case of Tur and Moong, Africa is one of the major suppliers to India for Tur, had been a major supplier for Tur in India. Out of the total import of Tur that India does, about 47% comes from Africa. This is divided into 3 major countries, and some new origins have started. The 3 traditional suppliers have been Tanzania, which supplies around 27%. Then you have Mozambique, which supplies around 15%. And then you have, say, other origins. Sudan has started to come in a big way, had started to come in a big way in recent past. So that way, around 47 to, say, 48% of the total import of Tur comes from Africa. If we look at what is the outlook for Africa, we have to go back 2 years back and see how Africa actually started with Tur. 2 years back, when the Indian Tur market was struggling and the prices were shooting up, the government of India reached out to Africa with various resources, and they said, we want Africa to grow as much as pulses as they can. Several initiatives were taken, and that resulted into an increase of production in Africa. Roughly 25 to 30% increase in production happened in 2017. So the increased level of production roughly around, was roughly around 500,000 tons in Africa, which included Tanzania producing around 135 tons, Malawi producing another 120,000 tons, Mozambique producing, say, close to 100,000 tons. Then you had Sudan producing about 60 to 70,000 tons and others. So that made up the total supply from Africa. Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff does not represent the actual production. The reason is this is the harvested stuff. There a lot of production that was done by the African farmers never got harvested because of the price crash. So in Kenya, there's an estimate that about say 15% of the total harvested, 15% of the total crop did not get harvested. It was left on the fields and burned by the farmers just because they had no market to sell. So that has adversely affected Africa in Tur. The estimate for 2018 has been that the production would go down by about 40 to 50% because of the lack of market. The carryover stocks are significantly high. In Tanzania, we are expecting about 50,000 tons of carryover stock. In Malawi, there's another 50,000 tons which is not sold. Mozambique, in spite of the MOU and in spite of the bilateral agreement with the government of India, still there is a 40 to 45,000 tons that is remaining. And same is the story with about every African supplier. So 2018, if you look at, we are expecting that Tanzania would go down from 135 to about 60 to 65,000, which is about 50% fall. Malawi would again go back to say 50 to 55,000, which is again another 40-45% fall in production. Mozambique would go up to 70 to 75,000 tons, and the others. So that way, what we are looking at is about on an average 40 to 45% fall in Tur production from Africa. Coming to Moong, Moong, the major producer in Africa has been Kenya. About 450,000 tons of Moong is being produced by Kenya. 45,000 tons of Moong has been produced by Kenya. Tanzania produces about 55,000 tons. And Mozambique produces about 20,000 tons. So that's the level of Moong. Moong has not been so badly affected because Moong has alternate markets, and there's a local consumption of Moong as well within Africa. So, but still, given the price trends, we are expecting about say 30% fall in the production of Moong this year. So that's basically about Africa.
Thank you, Dr. Bharat. Again, I have two questions for you. Number one, as you have forecast the production of Africa, it's falling year by year. If I remember well, about 10 years back, Africa was just producing like 50,000 tons in one or two countries. And it went as high as 500,000 ton plus, and now decreasing again. And the forecast for coming year with such government intervention is less than 300,000 tons. And how do you see what crop again they will replace if they don't grow pigeon peas? The price trend with price drop, do you think it will support farmers and farmer will still grow whatever small quantity? Yeah, these two things. And third is the Mozambique quota which is there. Is this quota there for a couple of years or it's only there for a year? How many years the quota arrangement between Mozambique and India?
I think to answer the first question about what crops might, say, replace pigeon peas, pigeon pea is an intercropping crop. And the crop that can be replaced with pigeon pea, like in Tanzania, we are seeing this thing happening. Farmers have moved to chickpeas, which is in some quantities. And the other crop that they might move is soybean. So because soybean, there was an increase in the international prices and a lot of soybean demand from India came up. So farmers have looked at it and said probably soybean is a crop that we can move to. So a lot of acreage that has reduced from pulses, especially pigeon peas, is going into either soybean or into pigeon peas. But this has been, traditionally a lot of this crop, this acreage used to be with alternate crops of domestic consumption, which the governments in these countries went to the farmers and they said, you grow pulses because it has a better market. And when you don't find that market, there's definitely a social and a political crisis. So that's the situation. Movement into, there have been a lot of donor-driven projects to promote pulses, which has again made it a little bit difficult to switch over from, it's not that easy to switch over from pigeon peas to others, but then there is switchover happening. about the how the farmers are actually responding to the prices and all. I think this, as I said, this has led to the fall in prices, has led to an acute situation of say social and political unrest in many African countries, especially Tanzania, because the farmers who gave up their crop that they could themselves consume in anticipation of a crop that they could sell and get cash, is not fetching the cash. The price that they were expecting to be about $600, $700 per ton has gone down to $180 per ton. So that has actually led to a lot of political crisis in these countries. Finally, about the Mozambique agreement is an MOU with the government of India where the government of India has agreed to buy, say, the certain quantities, about 100,000 quantities, which goes on increasing every year for 5 years. And because the restriction came in, this became a quota. Otherwise, that was a commitment from the government to buy a minimum quantity. So if there would be say maybe in a year down the line, if the import is open, then it won't remain as a quota, but it would be a major commitment by the government. So 5 years, it's...
So 5 years, there is arrangement. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bharat. So we'll move to, before we go to India, which we have kept on the last, because I find that one of the most interesting one. So Mr. Chandrasekhar has to wait for us. I would request Ali to share the figures of Pakistan, and with current price down, how do you see, does he really see demand going up, and does it really helping people to consume more and more pulses?
Thank you, Sunil Bhai. I'm just going to give a brief idea of the Pakistani agriculture scenario, followed by the specific focus on the 3 pulses we have. Basically, Pakistan is dependent on its agricultural economy, and about 18.9% of the GDP is dependent on agriculture. During 2017 and 18, we have seen the crop sector perform well, and we've had major crops such as sugarcane, rice, and cotton grow tremendously, 7%, 8%, and 11% respectively. Unfortunately, wheat and maize have gone down, which are major crops for us, but we do have a glut in wheat, so I guess that is a good thing for us in a way. The consumption of pulses in Pakistan generally has been going down if you look at a long-term trend. In 2000, the consumption was about 15 kg per person per capita, and this has gone down in a recent FAO report to about 7 kg, so it's about halved in about 17 years. So we are seeing increasingly that as pulses is typically the poor man's food and meat is considered more affluent, the rising trend in income has led to pulses consumption going down. This has seen a tremendous increase in our poultry and our meat industries, which are growing about 20 to 30% per annum. Coming to the crops in question, basically, let me take pigeon peas initially. Unlike India, which is the major consumer, Pakistan doesn't really consume pigeon peas that much. Our consumption would be around 15,000 metric tons, and this is pretty much covered by the local production, which is about 12 to 15,000 tons. This year we did see some imports of feed as Africa was desperate to sell after the Indian scenario. So we saw prices around 200, and that was ideal for the feed industry. So we saw about maybe around 10, 11,000 tons come in as feed, which was not a normal occurrence. For moong, Pakistan is a producer of moong, and we pretty much produce around, normally our production is around 130,000. Last couple of years, we've seen a decline to about 120,000. This year, expecting about 118 because of the weather issues. Our consumption is about 142,000 roundabout, and the gap that we have is pretty much covered either by the local, what we call the moat crop, which is similar in nature, or we get some imports from the Afghanistan border, and we see that that pretty much covers most of the demand-supply gap. We do see some imports maybe broken from Argentina, or if Africa is considerably cheaper, we do see some mung coming in from there. This year we did have, I just heard recently that about 300 containers came into Pakistan this year because of some price gap. So that ended up being an anomaly in a figure. Usually our crop is divided between the two provinces, Sindh, where Karachi is, down south, and Punjab, which is a major province. And the Sindh crop is more finer in the size, whilst the Punjab crop is thicker. And hence, Sindh generally trades around right now about $480 equivalent on the import side. And Punjab, which will come in June, the main crop, will be around between 540 to 600, depending on the size. Coming to black mape, we have the consumption is around 100,000 tons. It's just under 100,000. And as we call it, mash, is generally a very popular thing, and you find it on the roadside cafes, etc. Usually mash dal is the preferred choice. We generally import around 85 to 88,000, mainly from Myanmar. We do see some odd figures from Thailand sometimes, if the gap is there. And the rest is pretty much covered by the Afghani crop, which is coming across the border. So we do get that. Right now, with the mash prices going down, we have seen an increase. Last year, we saw a decrease with the prices at $2,000 and $1,500. So this year, at $400 to $500 range, we had an excellent chance to consume more mash. And pretty much it was the cheapest crop available for us because it was even competing with the red lentils, which is around 410 right now. So we see around the local pricing, the FAQ quality in Sindh, where mash is grown, it's about, the crop is very insignificant, about maybe 7,000 to 8,000 tons only. And that is generally priced around $340 on the import side, if you create the equivalent. And the imported is selling around 470, 75, though yesterday there was a slight increase in the pricing. Basically, coming over, I think that covers pretty much the supply and demand side. We move on to some of the issues we've been having in the markets. One of the main issues that we have is the liquidity is quite low this year due to last year's whirlwind pricing drops, and we had a lot of good companies bear a lot of pain last year. And so the liquidity this year is quite low, and people are very cautious to take a big step. We are having some issues with the quarantine, and hence we are seeing some issues with the methyl bromide as a choice of fumigant. So it doesn't really affect our imports from Myanmar because that's not an issue there. But on the mung side, we are seeing some issues with the import of the Argentinian containers that came in recently. There's another issue that is going to come up with the non-GMO, with the Pakistani phyto authorities asking for non-GMO to be compulsory on either the phyto certificate or the site certificate being stamped by the phyto authorities. And this is supposed to come into effect on the 10th of June. So we're expecting some issues in the next month while we negotiate with the phyto authorities to try and either convince the other countries to accept this condition, or to find a way where we can easily go, find a way out of it. We don't know how. So that's pretty much it. On the consumption side, as you said, I expect with the pricing, if it stays down and India stays out, I expect black mape or mash to increase the consumption to about 105, 110,000.
Okay, thanks, Ali. I just would like to add to Ali. For non-GMO in Myanmar, the product is all non-GMO. Unfortunately, we don't have a specific testing system and method. If they need that, that can be done, but again, there is additional cost. But Myanmar product are non-GMO products. Thanks, Ali. I would like to straight go to Mr. Chandrasekhar because we have not much time left. And Mr. Chandrasekhar will cover the total scenario, demand supply for India. Mr. Chandrasekhar.
Thank you, Sunil. Friends, such a delight for me to be here at this annual forum. I've been a part of this for last 10 years and more, and I enjoy addressing my friends here in the global pulse industry. Like India, Sri Lanka is a cricket crazy nation. And in cricket, the captain usually sends the top 2 best batsmen to open the innings, which is exactly what Sunil did by sending them, and then you have a strong middle order batsman. The ones who come later are called night watchmen. I'm supposed to be a night watchman in cricket.
I don't agree with this. I want to keep the best for the last.
Don't worry.
So that people stay around.
The night watchman usually saves the match for the team. Okay, so don't worry. I'm fine. It is in a lighter vein. Friends, as you know, in the last 2 years, India has had some incredible expansion in production. And we also have had very large imports coinciding with very large production. That has clearly demonstrated India's inability to handle massive crops, both domestic production and imports. And these are reflected in prices. Domestic prices have collapsed because of a combination of large production and large imports. And therefore, to protect the interest of domestic growers, the government was forced to impose quantitative restrictions on certain pulses, and of course tariffs on certain other pulse varieties. This is the current situation. Currently, we have huge inventory lying in the country, and very surprisingly, and I would call it anomalously, when prices are high, like it happened in 2014, 15, and 16, when prices are high, there is demand compression and demand destruction. But at lower prices, which we are facing over the last 18 months or so, at lower prices, one would logically expect a big jump in consumption, but that's not happening. Lower prices do not trigger a big jump in consumption. And therefore, given this situation, all of us have to think as one how best to boost consumption. And there is no country in this world where pulse consumption can have a quantum jump except in India, because the per capita availability and per capita consumption of pulses in India is rather low even now by world standards and by the standards set by the World Health Organization. Therefore, we need to work on strategies to boost consumption in India plus in other countries. But I'm going to share with you over the next few minutes my outlook for the market, what's likely to happen over the next 5 or 6 months. Very clearly, I can see demand is going to kick in. Demand for pulses will start kicking in once Ramadan starts. It'll run for a month. And after that, August, September, October are full of festivals in India. It is that time when food consumption increases manifold. Whether it is sugar or edible oil or grains and pulses, demand will start picking up. Also, until October, from May, June until October, I'm absolutely convinced demand will spike. And by September or October, the burdensome inventory levels that we are facing currently will certainly become much lighter. This is the first proposition I want to make. The second proposition is the Indian Meteorological Department has forecast a normal southwest monsoon this year, but we still don't know the spatial and temporal distribution. We don't know how it's going to pan out between June and September. We need to wait for a proper distribution of rainfall. Notwithstanding that, my clear call, my clear sense is that pulse production in the upcoming Kharif season, for which planting will take place in June, July, and harvest in September, October, I'm expecting a drop in both acreage and in harvest. And I see very clearly, particularly PGNP is going to be impacted. My estimate for pulse harvest in September, it's actually not an estimate, it's a forecast. My forecast for pulse harvest in India by September, that's in the Kharif season, would be something like 7.5 million tons versus 8.8 million tons last year. So there'll be at least 1.2 or 1.3 million ton lower crop of pulses. And I can again foresee very clearly a significant drop in PGNP acreage and PGNP production. The decline of the projected or forecast decline of 1.2 or 1.3 million tons will significantly come from PGNP, in my opinion, because farmers are rather upset. They have not received good prices. The government's procurement mechanism is inadequate given the daunting challenge that harvests have posed. And therefore, I'm expecting lower PGNP crop, also marginally lower moong and black matpe crops. I will not be surprised. I will not be surprised if in September or possibly early October, there is a review of the food inflation situation by the Government of India. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I expect crude oil to stay at elevated levels. I expect Indian rupee, the currency, to depreciate even further. It's depreciated in the last few weeks. It will depreciate further. And as I said, the Kharif crops are not going to be great crops, including pulses. There is going to be a decline in pulse crop. And therefore, a combination of 3 C's, crude oil, currency, and crops, would most likely compel the policymakers in India to review those strong controls and restrictions on pulses import. Because the Government of India will not allow inflation, food inflation, to rear its head. And then we have our general elections coming up sometime in March, April, May 2019. And therefore, a review of the food inflation situation and inflation outlook would become critical for the policymakers sometime in September, October. That gives me some confidence, some hope that there is a possibility, there's a potential for a rollback in the restrictions which the market is currently facing. I'm not saying all the restrictions will be lifted, but I'm saying there is a possibility of a rollback. Maybe the quantitative restrictions may be eased a little more. Tariffs may be reduced a bit. It's all possible. But I would think, as the Global Pulse Confederation, as the global body, GPC should actually start working with Indian policymakers and start lobbying for this kind of an outcome sometime in September or October. More important is that we need to look at strategies to boost consumption. We have a situation of oversupply. All of us have to discuss strategies to boost consumption. I have some thoughts on the subject, but I'm not sure if we have the time to discuss all that. But the sense that I'm getting from what I heard from Shyam and from Bharat is that very clearly some kind of a storm is possibly brewing on the supply side. By September or October, there could be real tightness in the availability of PGNP, black matpe, and moong. That's the sense I'm getting. To what will be the extent of the tightness, what will be its impact on prices, is something I may not be able to estimate at this point of time. But I suspect, and I can see actually signals of an emerging storm that can choke, that can reduce supplies by September, October of the three crops that we are discussing at the moment. But also remember, the government of India holds 1.1 million tons of PGNP as buffer stock, as stocks that are procured. That will have to be released slowly. And I'm sure that will be released when we have, when the festival demand starts to kick in, that will be released, and that would augment domestic supplies and possibly keep prices under check. But post-September, from the time of the next harvest, I will not be surprised to see a much tighter demand-supply situation, much tighter balance sheet for the three crops that we are discussing this morning. Thank you. If you have any questions, of course, I'll be happy to answer.
Before I go to question-answer session, I have one question for Mr. Chandrasekhar, which is very, very important and everybody is looking forward for. The government policy. How does he see the current Indian government policy restrictions for black mape, mung bean, turhol, and how much in clarity does he feel? He cannot decide, but does his opinion is it will be there, because they come out with a policy and they don't give a clarity, and people keep looking for clarity for a couple of months. By the time, it's too much delay. So, Mr. Chandrasekhar, can you just touch base on that?
Sunil, as you know, I've written several commentaries on the subject and spoken on television on this. It is unfortunate that the government of India held out promises to, say, East African nations to produce more. And they did produce more. And one fine morning you say, no, I'm going to restrict imports from your country. I think it is unfortunate, and I've written in very strong words that this should not have happened. But the fact remains that there is now a quantitative restriction on import of the three crops that we are talking about. My sense is that the quantity ceiling for 2018-19 has been announced, but the procedure has not been announced. I suspect the government is buying time. They will delay announcement of the procedure as much as possible, probably the next 2 months. I won't be surprised if that happens, because they would also look at the onset of the monsoon and the progress of sowing for the Kharif crop. But at some stage, they will have to open up the policy and announce the procedure, because you can't postpone it indefinitely. They'll be looking for an appropriate time, and I guess it could be end July or early August is a time they will actually announce a procedure for import, and then imports can start taking place. That would also coincide with the harvest in Africa, around August. That is one. Second, I don't see at the moment any strong possibility of a rollback in tariffs, primarily on yellow pea and on lentils. But again, as I said, in the month of September, if the review suggests inflation risks, food inflation risks in India, I think the government will not hesitate to even roll back the tariffs partially. This is the call I would take today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chandrasekhar. So we'll go straight to question-answer sessions. I'll just pick up some popular one. Would depend on likes here. So my first question is to Shyam. How many crops have Myanmar per year? If it is more than one, do they grow pulses on both crops?
Myanmar has one major crop, that is for rice. But for pulses, it comes round the year. Like black mapte, the harvesting time is February and March. For turhol, the harvesting time is December and January. For green moving, it comes 4 times in a year. January and February is the harvesting time for the southern part of Myanmar, which is called the Khayamung. In the central Myanmar, it comes the Anya from that region. The harvesting time is May to July. Then comes is the Tangu region, which is October. So Myanmar have 3 to 4 varieties of moong coming round the year.
Yep. So for black mape, there is only one crop in Myanmar, and turol also one crop. One of the most popular questions, again for Mr. Chandrasekhar, if India to become self-sufficient in pulses, do you forecast pulses trade collapsing? Actually, I am seeing this year already most of the pulses trader out of India and internationally are not happy and in a bad shape. Mr. Chandrasekhar.
In fact, I wrote a commentary probably a couple of months ago during the Pulse Conclave in Delhi, or a little later probably, when the government claimed that we have become self-sufficient. Far from it. Far from it. We have not reached self-sufficiency, and I don't see India reaching self-sufficiency in pulses in the next 5 years at least. That because our agriculture is vulnerable, our agriculture is fragile, and I've always said we are just one bad monsoon away from a major farm disaster. For self-sufficiency is a good objective, good aim to work towards, but we are not going to be able to achieve it because we would be self-sufficient if we were to produce something like 30 million tons of pulses. And our current levels of production are 22 or 23 million tons. We need to produce at least 1/3 more. And we don't have so much land, we will not be able to handle so much of demand, so much of inventory, so much of production. That's what the last 2 years have very clearly demonstrated. And therefore, my strong belief is that pulse trade will continue. India will continue to import pulses. Don't be guided by what happened in the last 1 year. These things do happen in international trade, but the strategy for Global Pulse Confederation should be not only to look at boosting production, but more importantly, in my opinion, boosting consumption, particularly in populous countries like India and China and Bangladesh and Pakistan, and Indonesia, for example. Those are large populous countries, which is where we need to strategically communicate for a major expansion in consumption of pulses. That is what will bring a sense of balance to the world pulse market.
For boosting consumption, this is one of the major agenda for GPC this year. And it's also part of Colombo Accord, if I'm not wrong. And we would again request, appeal everybody to boost pulses as much as possible in whatever way they feel they can. They should contribute to boost pulses so that our economy, our trade is more and more healthy. The next question again for Mr. Chandra, how about government rules to import pulses next 6 months? It's like something which is there, but nothing is clear. That's what they would like to do, but maybe he would focus more on that. What is, how clear are the government rules to import pulses for next 6 months into India?
No, I think there is no clarity at the moment. The focus of the government is to support domestic growers and ensure that they get prices closer to the minimum support price. But in most cases, the prices are far below the minimum support price, and therefore, imports are not favored at all. But at the same time, the government has certain international obligations. And therefore, within the framework of those international obligations, in terms of trade policies and tariff policies, the government of India is taking some action. I don't see any significant change occurring in this trade policy over the next 4 months. But as I said earlier, most likely in September, when the Kharif crop prospects crystallize, there will be a review of inflation risks to the economy. And there, I believe, there is a small window of opportunity for the government to roll back these restrictions. Therefore, we need to bide time. We need to wait the whole of May, June, July, August, probably September, and there will be a review of the inflation situation, food availability, They look at currency, they look at the crude oil markets, they look at kharif crops, etc.
Thank you. Shyam, most of the questions are for India and Myanmar, so I couldn't divert anything to Dr. Bharat and Ali.
No issues.
And these are the most popular ones which we can see. Shyam, with Pakistan GMO issue expected to pop up, will it affect export out of Myanmar?
Of course it will affect, because Pakistan is one of the main buyers from Myanmar now, mostly for black mapte and for chickpeas. So if any problem comes with the non-GMO issue, there will be a problem for Myanmar export.
Yep. As of now, it looks okay, but if Pakistan becomes very rigid and they start making things complicated, yes, it will impact, because the current major buyer, one of the major buyer is Pakistan, on which Myanmar is dependent. There was a question, do you anticipate any MOU between India and Myanmar? I'll just take a quick one. India and Myanmar have always been in a close relationship, trying to do some sort of arrangement last 15 or 20 years. Till today, they are not successful. They have made some, were not implemented. They have been trying the best. Now Myanmar is approaching, previously India was approaching, but nothing has materialized as of now. But attempts are being made. Ministries have been exchanging a lot of dialogues, so we have to wait and see, but as of now, nothing. Shyam, Udad, do you forecast farmers in Myanmar, India would be induced to sow more Udad in Myanmar, manages to maintain Udad price above the India MSP?
Definitely. In Myanmar, the sowing depends on the price of the commodity at the time of sowing. If the Udad price is higher, well above MSP, which is around $54.50, say around $700, definitely Myanmar will grow more black mapte.
There is an interesting question which we have not covered, which I would still like to take it. And Moong, what is the status of Australia Moong crop? Are the acreage of Moong increasing in Latin America? Please update information on all valuable origins. I'll just take this one as a quick one. Yes, we have not covered all origin. That's why if you see in the Moong presentations, we have not even given the total, because Moong is coming up in many more countries. So this year as a panel, we decided that we start to work on it immediately. Whatever information is available from our friends, we'll take it and we'll still try to post it on the website as a part of presentation. But as of now, we don't have accurate figures. We are not expert on certain countries, so we don't want to give a wrong picture. But if you talk about product increasing, yes, product is increasing day by day and it's growing up. So I think that's all for now. We are just on time, and I would like to thank once again to our panels for the beautiful session, and once again to GPC and the one man driving Colombo, Mahmood Bhai, Salim Bhai with his complete team. They have been standing around, anything you need help. Thank you so much for giving us such a fantastic venue. We look forward for similar venues going down the line, GPC. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's have a big round of applause for our excellent panelist and moderator, Sunil Padwari. Gentlemen, if you could just exit this way, let's get a quick picture right here, if you don't mind. And then we've got a small token of appreciation. Very good job. Sunil filled in late for us, and we really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have organized a very, very special guest for the last day of the GPC convention. Without further delay, let me introduce the most famous cricket player in the United States. Our MC, Tim McGreevy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. Cricket, thank you. We love you, we love you. It's fantastic. This is a great sport. We play it all over America. Absolutely. Cricket, I love cricket. Woo! Oh, and I love the music. Look at this music. Fantastic, fantastic. Oh my gosh, did you know I am carrying the bat of the 2016 test match between Sri Lanka and Australia. Guess who won? Sri Lanka! Woo! Yes. I'm sorry, Australia. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Now, this is my favorite game. This is my favorite game in Sri Lanka. Watch this. Oh, my God. Guess who this game is against? Australia! Ah, yes. Angela. Fantastic. Cricket, the national pastime of Sri Lanka. Did you know that in Sri Lanka they have 26 days of holidays? 26 days. And when I asked the cab drivers, the tuk-tuk driver, I said, why do you have 26 holidays? He says, well, cricket takes a very long time. 5 days. 5 days for a test match. 5 days. You can't go to work. 26 holidays. That's why we need cricket in America. That's why we need more holidays. Look at this, the 1996 World Cup Championship between Sri Lanka and Australia. Sri Lanka was victorious. The best game, and I just want you to know, yes, oh yes, clapping. There's a few Sri Lankans here. It's all right. The Australians can exit the room if they really want to, you know. But a great match, the Cricket World Cup. I was introduced to cricket in 1995 when I traveled to India. A fantastic game, really fantastic game. So, right, cricket, we're going to have a little test here, right? So we know, we want to tell you, right? Here we go. Who is the best Sri Lankan cricket player? Who is the best? Kumar Sangakkara or Arjuna Ranatunga? Okay, so all those in favor of Kumar Sangakkara. Oh no, clap. I want to see clapping, yelling. Who is he the best? Is he the best? Oh, well, he is a young man. He is a young man. Although he does have a very nice restaurant called the Ministry of Crab that I ate at this week. Fantastic place, really. So, Arjuna Ranatunga, is he the best player? Okay, well, you can't clap for a politician. I mean, that's very true. But he's very good. So, I want to introduce to the stage, right, who is the best cricket player of the pulses splitting and processing industry? Could I get Mahmood and Salim and Razak to come to the stage, please? Please come to the stage. Yes, the three brothers are major sponsors of the Global Pulse Confederation. Don't you think, look at these handsome men right here. Don't you think, could I get the next slide, please, Angela? Because I think that Mahmood looks just like Kumar. Don't you think? He looks just like him, huh? And Salim, just like Anjana. He doesn't have a beard. He doesn't have a beard. Okay, well, I wanted to personally thank, right, your company for the major sponsorship. And I wanted to give you a token of our appreciation, Randy. Okay, I am not going to be able to attend your son's wedding. I'm very sorry. But I wanted to give him a bat, right? That is the series bat for Kumar, right? And I was told a very good price, by the way. And also to give you actually a match ball as well. Thank you so much for helping, for sponsoring this convention and introducing me to cricket. Very good. Who is the best cricket player out of these three? What do you think? Yeah. Thank you very much. All right. Enough. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Salim. All right, so we're going to introduce the next panel, right? I will be taking pictures with this. Anyone who would like to, this is all the names of the 2016 cricket team. In fact, I came to Sri Lanka. You have so many holidays and such a beautiful place here. Beautiful weather, beautiful beaches, beautiful wildlife. And I thought maybe I should apply to become the Sri Lankan national team coach, because your team hasn't been doing well lately, right? And so I thought maybe I could reinvigorate it with some American ingenuity. I know a lot about baseball. I'm sure it transfers directly. Okay, so I want to introduce our next panel. Our next panel is our global chickpea panel, and for Kabuli chickpeas, and we have a great panel coming up. I'm sure all fantastic cricket players as well. And so I'd like to introduce our analyst, which is Elazar Kota. And now the panel members, please come forward. We have Faisal Anas Majid. We have Pedro Luengo. Give them all big rounds of applause. They're coming up. We have Jem Bogosoglu. We have Pablo Marziotti, we have Ron Williams, and Navneet Singh Chabra, who taught me a lot about cricket in the green room. So, gentlemen, Elazar, it is all yours. Go cricket.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I want to thank all the GPC members to invite me here to present the Kabuli panel. Also to all the panelists, to this beautiful country and lovely people. We're going to start with the Indian supply demand. So seeded acres, high prices last year increased the seeded area 65%. The yield is 4% higher than last year. Production is 71% higher. Carry-in is almost nothing. And total stocks is 34% higher. Low prices will have more demand. They will export 86% more. Domestic consumption will increase 23%. The total usage is going to be 30% more, with a potential carryover of 10,000 metric tons. The top 5 buyers from India were Algeria last year in crop 2017, 18,000 metric tons, Pakistan, 10,000 metric tons, Turkey, 8,000 metric tons, and Emirates, 6,000 metric tons. Domestic consumption is going to increase 23%. Import duties will change the market. India will use more of his own chickpeas to cover the demand because they will not able to import. There is a big problem of sizes in India. High temperatures during the growing seasons came with only an increase of the 12 millimeter. More of the increase of the supply is in the small sizes. The price for a 42, 44 today is around $1,000 to $1,060. We are seeing lower values in the last 2 days, and the next day is up another $50, so it's very unstable right now, the price. Then we move to Mexico. This is the breakdown by state in Mexico. Mexico, we got 2 biggest production areas. One is Sinaloa, that it grows 186,000 metric tons. And then Sonora. Sonora is one of the biggest increase in Mexico, especially the Obregon area, with 114,000 metric tons. Nayarit is not a producing area, and also Baja California, 8,000 metric tons. The total supply in Mexico City is 310,000 metric tons. So seeded area in Mexico was 72% higher, the yield 6% higher, the total production 83% higher than last year. Imports, we will not import any chickpea in Mexico City, and the total supply 310. Export we are seeing a good demand right now, so the potential export in Mexico, I think, is going to be 240,000 metric tons. Seed, all depends how is the prices, but we can use up to 18,000 metric tons. Feed and waste, 79% more. Other domestic consumption in Mexico is increasing. We're going to use about 15,000 metric tons. Total usage, close to 280,000 metric tons, and we can carry out 30,000 metric tons. In Mexico, we are discovering new markets that we didn't export it before. As a result of the small sizes we are getting in Mexico. These countries, normally they were buying product from India or United States and Canada, Argentina, but now Mexico can barely supply these countries. We are seeing good export demand. Last year up till April, we exported around 30,000 metric tons. This year, we already exported 43,000 metric tons. Domestic demand is also increasing, and we are having a very volatile, weak peso, and it's impacting the prices. The prices right now, the average prices for a 12 millimeter is in the range of 1,230 to 1,300, depends on the exporter. 11 millimeters, 1,225 to 1,275. 9 millimeters, 1125 to 1150. 8 millimeters, 930 to 960. Then we go to United States. United States seeded area is going to be 7% higher. It's going to be a better yield. They are very optimistic. The drought in Montana, North Dakota that happened last year, this year we are seeing much better conditions, so the yield can be up to 30%. Production can be 40% higher. Imports, they will import less beans, less chickpeas, 8% less. Stocks, the total supply can be 30% higher than last year. Export, they will bump the exports to 23% higher, and total usage will be 405,000 metric tons, 15% higher. And in the stocks, they can carry up to 100,000 metric tons. Up to February, the top 5 buyers from United States were Canada, 24,000 metric tons, India, 22,000 metric tons, Spain, 18,000 metric tons, Turkey, 15,000 metric tons, and Pakistan, 13,000 metric tons. In 2017, Montana, North Dakota suffered the drought, so in 2018, conditions looks better. As a result, yield may increase. Seeding up to today is delayed at least 2 weeks than last year. The farmers at these prices, they don't want a contract. There is high risk because the crop is delayed, so they are waiting to get any contract right now. We are seeing the production and the trending in the United States is increasing every year, but also we are seeing the consumption is increasing in the pace of 7 to 10% per year. And the increase on the consumption is increasing in the pet food market and also in the human consumption market. We will need good weather by September, October to avoid major problems and to avoid quality problems on the chickpeas. The prices right now we are seeing for 9 millimeters in the United States is in the range from 1,030 to 1,150, and 8 millimeters, 970 to 1,070. Let's go to Canada. Canada seeded area, 66% higher, yield 38% higher, and production increase of 129% higher. Carry in 18,000 metric tons. The stocks, total stocks will be 268,000 metric tons, is 111% higher than last year. Export, they will export 158, the potential export is 158,000 metric tons, 41% higher. The total usage will be 218,000 metric tons, 41% higher than last year. And they have a potential carryover of 50,000 metric tons. The top export countries for Canada in 2017, United States, 20,000 metric tons, Pakistan, 19,000 metric tons, Turkey, 18,000 metric tons, India, 8,000 metric tons, and Emirates, 2,000 metric tons. By April 30, 2017, all the chickpeas were on the ground. This year, by that the same time, is 0%. In the last 10 days, the weather is improving and there is some seeding going on. But some farmers will decide in the last minute due to the failure crops that they got in the past and also the quality problems they got in the past. In Canada, also domestic consumption is increasing. There is no carryovers. Argentina is supplying the domestic market until new crop. We will need also good weather by September, October to avoid quality problems. The prices we are seeing from Canada is for a mix 789 is in the range of $835 to $860. Also, we are seeing currency impact in Canada. The Canadian dollar is also under pressure in the last 2 weeks. Let's move to Argentina. Argentina is suffering a big drought in both areas, in the north and in the south. As a result of this, seeded area is going to be 30% less, yield is going to be 10% less, and production it can be up to 43% less. Carrying in, all depends on how is the export from here to the end of the crop, but it can be up to 6,000 metric ton. Total stocks, it can be 89,000 metric tons. That is 40% less than last year. Export, it would be 60,000 metric tons. Domestic, they will use 5,000 metric tons. And total usage will be 85,000 metric tons. That is 46% less than last year. The carryover, it will be almost nothing in Argentina. The top 5 export countries for Argentina were Turkey, 26%, Italy, 11%, Pakistan, 9,000, Portugal, 5,000, and Emirates, 5,000. This is crop 2017 and is up to February. These numbers can change. Drought condition is going to affect the area and the yield. The size of the carryover right now that is left in Argentina, basically 6 millimeters and 7 millimeters, and the quality is not the best. We're seeing a big spread on prices between the Argentinian exporters, and all depends on the quality control that the plants have in Argentina. There is many exporters, but not all of them are certified for some markets. We're seeing a big inflation in Argentina that is higher than the devaluation. So cost of production in Argentina is increasing. Prices, we are seeing the prices for a 7 in the range of 780 to 820, 8 millimeters, 880 to 920, and 9 millimeters in the range of 980 to 1020. Other countries, it's going to be election in Turkey, and it could affect the currency, duties, and confidence in the business. Turkey can move the market, is one of the biggest buyers and also one of the hubs for the MENA countries. 400,000 metric tons is the official number for production in Turkey, but the industry ideas is between 200,000 to 200,050, and it can be lower, depends on the weather. Right now, the crop is suffering a little bit of dry and heat, but it's too early to say that it's going to be a major problem. Russia, the crop can be similar than last year, 320,000 metric tons. Exports depends on prices, but it can reach up to 240,000 metric tons. And they are also having high temperatures in the production area. That is not good for the chickpeas. Let's move to Spain. Spain production will be similar than last year, around 50,000 metric tons. All depends what is going to be the yield. There is more area seeded in Spain, but lately they are having heavy rains and some weather problems, so yield might decrease, but the result can be the same amount of chickpeas than last year. Crop is delayed, And also the consumption is moving to the small sizes. They are not taking many jumbo or big sizes from Mexico. Pakistan will need to import in the range of 180,000 metric tons. New import countries will supply Pakistan because the FIDO regulations and the ban to India. So let's move to the conclusions. So the big sizes, I'm talking big sizes 11 and 12 millimeters, India is going to get only 37,000 metric tons more than last year, and Mexico only 60,000 metric tons than last year. So we are seeing that the total supply for big sizes in the world is only 100,000 metric tons more than last year. But as the prices already decreased almost half of the price, Mexico last year we were trading chickpeas around 2,300, and right now we are trading the chickpeas in the range of 1,275. So we are seeing a big demand on these big sizes. India also is the same. The prices they were trading last year was 2,000, and this year, even today, I heard prices below $1,000. So we are seeing demand that countries that normally they used to buy medium and small sizes, now they are moving also to the big sizes. And this is the production for the small sizes. So we are seeing a big increase on the small sizes, 420,000, 450,000 metric tons, that we can get the potential to get it in the next 6 months. It's 29% higher than last year. But the weather is going to be the driver in the market. There is a lot of the sitting going on right now, and all the countries that they are producing, they are facing not the best start in the market. Consumption is increasing worldwide. We are underestimating the demand, but we can see globally more consumption of chickpeas in the world. And more than 1.5 million tons are coming in the market in the next 6 months. We are not getting the best start, as I said before, in all the areas. And the Mother Nature will determine what is the market. Thank you very much. Let's move to present our panelists. So let's.
Working?
Yes. So let's move to our panelists. I want to start with India. So Navneet, can you tell us what is the situation in India? We're seeing a financial crunch, and how is the import duty affecting the market?
Let's start with the production numbers. The slides is showing the same number, more or less 500,000 tons for the Kabulis, which belong to our state, Madhya Pradesh. But we have another variety also of the small Sapaniola type with the other states. So the total, this varieties of the small sizes is around 250,000 tons. So that means if you talk about the total white chickpeas varieties, is not less than 750,000 tons in India. But because this is the Kabuli panel, so 500,000 tons for the Kabuli. Yes, the bigger sizes is because of the high temperatures in the month of January and February, we get comparatively less the high percentage as we got every year. So 200,000 tons with the high 42 to 46 calibers is right numbers. And rest is the smaller sizes. And we have a good demands at these prices. Almost in the market, the farmers bring around 200,000 tons till the month of April end. So out of 200,000 tons, 100,000 tons is consumed locally. Domestic market, 55,000 tons is already exported in the month of Feb, March, and April. And the rest 50,000 with the traders as a stocks. So still we need around arrivals is for the next 9 months, 250,000 tons arrival will be in the market. So regarding the imports, yes, the imports, we will not do the imports because there's a 44% duty is on the Kabuli, so the imports is not there for this year.
But do you think that import duty is going to go away or going to stay for the rest of the year?
No, even if import duty is nil also. We have sufficient supply from the small sizes of the, as I said, the other varieties has a good number of production, so which is mostly consumed locally. We see that the market, we have good demands, but in the same like, we have the crop same like 2013. So in this good times, in that good time, we exported to Algeria and Pakistan a lot. But this year, the main hurdle is the Pakistan import permits. I mean, if you see in the Feb and March month, we export 8,000 tons to Pakistan. And I mean, if the Pakistan has started the issuing the import permit for India, every month we export 10,000 tons minimum to Pakistan.
Okay, so
Algeria also, I mean that Algeria, because of the payment hurdles, we are not easily shipping to Algeria.
So let's move to Pakistan so we can understand what's going on in Pakistan. New regulations, new phytos, permits. Faisal, can you explain more the situation, how much demand you will need to import in the next months, and also who will be supplying Pakistan, because India, they cannot get the product from India, and it was a major exporter.
Thank you, Eliezer. My name is Faisal Anis Majid from Bombay's Group, Karachi, Pakistan. I'll go over the statistics, what Pakistan is producing and how much we import annually. Pakistan is actually producing 50 to 60,000 tons of its own local crop, which is usually small caliber. And apart from that, our consumption is about 200 to 225,000 tons annually. So we import, like Navneet also informed that about 10,000 tons every month we import from India. But with this, we need to import 150 to 160,000 tons from other origins. So Pakistan is searching and importing from Canada, USA. As you can see on your figures, that Pakistan was under the top 3. So Pakistan is importing from Argentina, USA, Mexico, Russia, and Burma, all these Kabuli chickpeas, and they're finding new origins from Sudan and all.
And you think that these low prices against last year is going to increase the demand?
The demand is not very, I don't think so that this decrease in the prices would increase the demand, but because the Kabuli chickpeas demand is specific in specific areas. So some areas like big calibers, some area like small calibers. So the demand would be around 200 to 225,000 tons. Yeah.
So let's move to Spain. Pedro, how you think is the crop looking? We are seeing that Spain is one of the top quality buyers of chickpeas. How is the crop looking? Do you see the demand is changing to small sizes? And also, how many you think Spain will need to import in the next months?
Well, Spain is probably one of the main consumers in Europe for chickpeas, mainly quality chickpeas. Total demand would be around 70 to 75,000 tons, I would say. And this demand is supplied by both imports and domestic. Main imports come from the US, from Mexico, and from Argentina. And regarding domestic, if we look at the official figures, many may not agree a lot with them. Anyway, we see an important increase in the last 5 years, almost doubling if we look at the provision of the seeding of 2018. This number points out that there are 50,000 hectares seeded for next season. And although if you're asking about how the crop looks like, probably we will be looking at yields slightly below average because of some high moisture that has led to some disease that have been treated. But still, yielding between 0.8, 0.9 will leave us a crop of 40 to 45,000 tons, which is a number for Spain. The rest will be obviously imported. What will be the exact number of the imports? It's something that's not easy to say. Obviously, less firm prices will encourage an excess on the imports, but I would situate those somewhere between 35 to 40,000 tons anyway. And you also asked about the sizes, and we've seen in the last years a movement towards small or medium caliber chickpeas, and that might be, well, prices probably had helped a lot this, but mainly because of the gaining importance of the canning and jarring market against the traditional packaging, which was demanding a larger chickpea. It has kind of have moved in that sense. So Spain probably does not achieve the big numbers in terms of imports or production other main countries do, but we still have a reasonable, stable, no major ups and downs demand, and that would, well, that made Spain probably will be playing his role in the industry. Thank you.
So let's move to the United States. Ron, how is the seeding? We are seeing some losses of acres in the last minute due to the weather, and also we are seeing a big increase on the demand in the pet food market and also in the human consumption. So can you explain a little more what's going on in your market?
Sure. Currently in the U.S., in the northern tier, Washington, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, we're approximately 65 to 70% seeded. We are running late. As the season has got late on us, we have lost a few acres. As recent as last Friday, we had some of our producers coming in and canceling their chickpea seed and buying other seed, mainly a hard red spring wheat seed. So I think in the end, we will have acres maybe closer to 650,000 or slightly lower. I think in the U.S. numbers that we showed earlier, they were 668, something like that. So we will be a little bit lower on our acreage. We are getting some moisture currently. It's raining. I was talking to them today. And the forecast for the next few days in Montana is for some additional moisture. That'll slow the balance of the seeding a little bit, but will benefit the crop that is already in. And in the end, in the next 10 days or so, I think we will go a long ways toward finishing up the last 30 to 35% of the seeding. And with normal, if we can get back to normal yields with good moisture over the next month or so, we should see higher production than last year. If you look at the numbers, we could see maybe 35 to 40% more production this year than we've had last year with the drought that we had in Montana. It still all depends on what Mother Nature decides to give us, and as we know in this business, Mother Nature rules, so we will have to wait and see. With regards to the increase in the domestic consumption, last year we estimated there was approximately 140,000 tons of domestic consumption. This year, and the 2018 crop should see maybe in the neighborhood of 160,000, somewhere in that range. And it should be, it's hard to get a good estimate on how much of that is pet food versus human consumption. Maybe 50-50 at this point in time. Over the years, not that last few years, maybe been more 75% on the human side and 25% say on the pet food side, but over the last 2 to 3 years, that's greatly increased. We've sold a lot of chickpeas into the pet food market, as everybody knows.
Thank you, Ron. Let's move to Russia. Jim, how is the crop looking? We are seeing a consistent supply from Russia in the last years, and it's becoming an important player supplying chickpeas into Turkey. How is the crop looking? What we are seeing right now in the weather, right now is in the seeding season, and also what you expect on prices?
Hello, everyone. So I guess everybody is a bit tired already, looks like. So the question here is, Russia is the bad boy of the chickpeas. We have the cheapest alternative for the chickpeas. Yes, that's correct. But the supply-demand part for the whole chickpeas, in my opinion, is more depending on the Indian production and consumption. For the last year specifically, India haven't imported anything from Russia. And still, Russia was, as you said in your numbers, managed to export something around 200,000 tons. I would call the number closer to 200,000 tons rather than 240. On the production side, in my opinion, we will have the similar numbers, 300, 350,000. You know, Russia is not very good for the statistics, but this is the assumption that we have in the industry. And hopefully, if the weather goes okay, you're going to have a similar size production this year. And in my opinion, the most crucial time for the chickpeas harvest in Russia is the coming 2-3 weeks, as we received very dry weather following to the seedings. The seedings is almost 95 to 100% done. The temperature was very hot compared to the normal season normals. It's like around 30, 32 degrees, which is a very high temperature after the seedings especially. We need some moisture in the first 2 weeks of the seedings, which we didn't receive. So that's why I think everything is dependent on the weather for the time being. If we will have some nice rains, we're going to have similar crop, which I believe the prices will get a bit softer. But if not, in my opinion, the chickpeas will remain at these numbers at least, but everything can change very quickly. In the room, there are so many friends, colleagues who ask me the question about the weather. And 3-4 years back in Las Vegas, after the conference, in 2-3 weeks, we received 1 week or 10 days hot wave for the temperature 40-45 degrees, which killed all of the flowers and brought the yield at very low numbers. So in my opinion, the weather is very crucial at this point, and it's hard to make an estimate for the price. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim. Let's move to Argentina. Pablo, how about this drought? What we can expect on the yields, and what is the farmer going to do when they get lower yields, high cost of production, and low prices?
Well, first of all, the drought in Argentina was really strong, especially in Córdoba, our main productive area. Just to give an example, in a normal year, we get around 800 millimeters of rain, and during the last year, we just got 200 millimeters. It's important to bear in mind that in Argentina, we have to accumulate water during summer, the previous summer, in order to grow chickpeas. So the situation is a little bit complicated today, but luckily, and we have been getting some rains in the last 15 days. Those rains have been concentrated, especially in the north part of the country. There are not enough yet in Córdoba. It's still raining there and today, and the weather forecast indicates that we will get some rains in the next 2 or 3 days. In my opinion, we will assure with this the possibility to plant around 60,000 hectares of chickpea this year. The problem is with the current prices we are seeing, the lack of water or the uneven distribution of the water in the country, farmers, we have to think a lot about the profitability of the crop. Probably some farmers might decide to change the crop from chickpeas to, for instance, wheat or even soybean. Probably they skip the winter and go on directly to a summer crop like soybean. It would happen.
Thank you, Pablo. So I would like to move to the audience to ask any question. Feel free to answer. And one of our panelists will start answering those questions. So the first question, how will India export 140,000 metric tons when Pakistan will be not buying any due to the import duty?
Okay.
Navneet, can you take that question, please?
Yes, my pleasure. As I said earlier, in 2013, there is no issues of the import permit to India. On that time, we are exporting. In 2013, we have the same crop like this year. So on that time, we are exporting 10,000 tons monthly to Pakistan. So I'm saying that if right now, as I said, that the main hurdles is the Pakistan and the Algerian issues. Like Pakistan, we are not getting the import permit. So if we get the import permit, Pakistan is a buyer for every month 10,000 tons. And if the Algerian payment terms is easy for us, and for I mean that if the government change their again payment terms, we export every month to Algeria 5,000 tons. So these two markets are right now it's out of the market. I mean that we exported in the first 2 months 8,000 tons. There is some import permits. Some Pakistan buyers have, so we exported in the Feb and March 8,000, but April onwards, we don't have the import permits from Pakistan.
Thank you, Navneet. The next question, no mention of Australia. What do you think is the total Australia production? Reports are planting is up 20%, so this market is a bigger player now in the smaller sizes. Yes. I think Australia is going to come into the game. As the Desi chickpea production is decreasing, they can increase the production of Kabuli chickpeas. Right now, I don't have any official number. And also, we are seeing other countries coming into players like Sudan, Bulgaria, but it's hard to track all this production area because some of those chickpeas also is no data between the trading. The next question. Currently, the subsoil is very dry in Saskatchewan and Montana. Unless it rains, the production could be much less. Will this impact the CI, the prices? Ron?
If we don't receive the rains and we don't get the crop, absolutely. You know, our prices will go up in what we're willing to offer. There's no doubt about that. It's pretty simple.
Thank you.
Can I ask Ron something at this point? What do you think the effect to the export, I mean, the demand on the feed side, pet food side, is it consistent? Because it's very important for the industry and for the pulses, you know, to have new consumption areas for all pulses. This is what Mr. Hussein wanted to emphasize in the opening with the GPC Colombo Accord. To have more consumption in different usage areas for the whole pulses. So what do you think? Is it getting more and more consistent to have the chickpeas or the pulses as a pet food ingredient?
The simple answer is yes. As we increase our production, we are able to build that supply base, and it's a much more consistent availability for the domestic consumption, so yes.
So let's move to the next question. What is the premium between Indian and Mexican big sizes Kabuli chickpeas, 100, 150 or less? So all depends on the season. I think early in February, March, April, I think the spread on the Indian and Mexican chickpeas is less, and after May, when we can see some weevil damage in the Indian chickpeas, then the market can increase. But lately, there is no relation. Last year, sometimes even the Indian market was more expensive than the Mexican market, and this year, sometimes we're even, and now we can see a big spread between the two countries. So I don't think it's any relation right now, any consistent relation between the two countries. And also, some countries, they cannot import from India, and some countries are more price takers than quality takers. My question goes to Spain. How is the new crop looks like in Turkey? Oh, sorry. My question goes to Spanish.
Spanish guy.
It's kind of a tricky question for me, isn't it? I think you're more of a statistics guy. How does the new crop looks in Turkey? What do you think about that?
There is no real official confident number. Most people that I talk to them, they say the crop is between 200 and 250,000 metric tons. Right now, the weather is a little bit dry. They got some rains lately, but we don't know what is going to be the impact on the yield. So it's hard to tell right now how is the crop looking. We have to wait another month and see how the crop develops. The next question, what about weevil attack percentage in Indian chickpeas now?
Sorry?
What about weevil attack percentage in Indian chickpeas crop right now? So is there any weevil damage right now in the crop?
Yeah, weevils has started. I mean that it just need to be understand that the Mexican and Indian strategy of buying chickpeas is different. In Mexico, farmers are selling all the chickpeas at the time of harvesting to the exporters, but in India, every day we are receiving the chickpeas from the farmers. So the farmers who are holding the crop, they did not have the good resources to save with the weevils. But I mean that the traders, we have a good facilities, cold houses and warehouses where we can stop the weevils. But the problem is that the farmers did not have the solution. So every day we are getting the crop in the markets, every day we are processing, and that's why it's weevil in the crop. But if the cargo is taken care in a good way, we did not have the weevils in the cargo. Same like the Mexico.
Thank you, Navneet. The next question. Kabuli seems to having a similar year like red lentils that did 2 years ago. Overproduction throughout the world. What are your thoughts? So, Ron, what are your thoughts? Is there any relation between red lentils and chickpeas in the world supply?
Well, I think the question is on the comparison with the overproduction, if you will, on the chickpeas this year. You know, we will see prices move lower, in my opinion, and it depends on, at least for us in the U.S., if our farmers decide to participate in that. They will, at some point, sell some of their crop, but our producers have the ability to hold their crop, and they could hold it for a year if they so desire. So at least for us on the U.S. side, we'll participate at lower values, but maybe not to the degree that some buyers think that we will.
And what do you think, Sam, is what the farmer is going to do if they start seeing the prices are decreasing, is moving down?
Well, from the Russian perspective, I can easily say that the Russian farmers are really used to the pulses to get higher at price by the end of the crop year. So they don't mind to sell the other commodities they have in the beginning and store the pulses, the peas, chickpeas especially, until the end of the crop year. And you know, in Russia mainly the farmers are big farmers, and they have major other crops like wheat, barley, or some oilseeds that they can preferably sell instead of discounting the prices. You see, and today, I mean, it's not as a question, but I would like to say to the audience as well, for the next question, I see it, that it's going to be less or not, is when you go back to the farm gate prices, is losing its attractiveness if the chickpeas becomes very cheap. Compared to 2-3 years back, we have seen the record low prices around, I think, $450 for farmer dress. In my opinion, the prices would not be pushed until that levels. As you see, for example, Sudan is at $500, but with a smaller caliber, which is 4 or 5 millimeters, compared to the Russian 6, 7, 8, majority 6, 7. That's why I think the Russian can go a bit softer if the production is going to be good. Otherwise, it will remain at the same levels. Of course, depends on the imperfection of any other producing or importing countries.
Thank you, Jem. Let's move to the
comment on Jem point also that the application of the Russian chickpeas is not like the Sudan and Burma. Like there's a question that Sudan and Burma is different, and the Russian chickpeas is a different application. So I think it's not right to connect the Russian chickpeas with Sudan and Burma. Russia is mainly consumed in the Middle East country, and it does not concern with the prices of Sudan and Burma.
Well, typically, maybe yes, you're right, but today if you ask in the room, whoever asked me Russian chickpeas is comparing the price with the Sudanese, correct? So it means there is a correlation. The people are tending to replace it. Like somebody was asking me, are you trading chickpeas? And I said, no, I better go to the casino. I have more chance to win there. So we don't know when next year how it's going to be.
So let's move to the next question. We believe that price variation between the small and large caliber will be quite wide this year. Would you like the panel opinions? Last year, the spread between the small sizes and big sizes also was quite spread. This year, we are seeing the spread between small sizes and big sizes are less. We are seeing in the range of 1,100 9 millimeters from United States, and also $1,000 from Argentina, and also the 12 millimeters from Mexico is 1,200. So we can see the spread between 9 millimeters and 12 millimeters is $200. And even today, some Indian prices are 12 millimeters are the same price of 9 millimeters from United States and Argentina. Pakistan is going to make any changes at the import permit in the short term. Faisal, can you help us with this question?
Yeah, thank you, Eliezer. Actually, the Pakistan Plant Protection Department has not issued any official ban or anything or notification for not issuing import permits, but they are in the process and they're not giving out the import permits, they're accepting the application, so we don't have a proper deadline or anything that when they'll be able to open it. So, but in the short term, we don't see it happening with the attitude of the department.
Thank you very much. For Indian chickpeas, where do you see the price falling to and stabilize for the larger size caliber?
Okay. I mean that the price is already, it's a very good prices right now. And this prices is only because, as I said, of the less demands from Algeria. Otherwise, we did not see even this prices. So I don't know where is the price bottom out, but I mean that if you have a demands of 10 containers, keep buying 3 containers, 3 and average is doing price. This is the best way to get away from this downside. I mean that. Averaging is the right option. I don't know up to where the price should be bottom out, but I think it's a good level.
Thank you, Navneet. The next question. How is the quality this year in Argentina? And can they make some standard parameters like United States and Canada?
Facing the quality issue, we have to divide in 3 items, I think. First, size. In size, we have to wait until to know exactly the distribution of the area, because in the northern part of the country we achieve smaller sizes, and also we have to know exactly when we finally plant, the date of final plant, because if we plant late, we also could achieve smaller sizes. In terms of washed and blanched grain, we are not expecting difference between this year and the previous year. Anyway, I would like to remark some point because new varieties from Argentina have a lighter color scheme that is a genetic characteristic that sometimes is confused with some quality problems, and sometimes it gets some discussion with some of our customers. But at the end of the day, it's just a characteristic, a genetic characteristic for our new varieties, and it's not a problem, a quality problem. And in terms of the standards, well, Argentina has been improving its not only its capacity in plants, but also its technology in plants. And many plants are under standards, so I think we can achieve a really good quality and also a traceability of our product.
But Argentina is working as individual companies, or are they putting together a program to try to increase the quality, or is more like a personal company work plan?
Both. Because the most important companies are working a lot in improving its quality. We are all together in the Argentina Pulses Chamber working in improve our quality and also to follow in standards.
Thank you. Let's move to the next question. The question is to Jem. Do you think a lot of producers in Russia will carry their current crop chickpeas stock into the new season, considering the high price expectations?
Well, in my opinion, the existing stocks in Russia are very limited, at least the good quality ones. I mean, in the room, so many one has been asking me, can I trade 10 containers, 5 containers, 20 containers here and there? But my trust in the quality is very less. I think the remaining quality in Russia is mostly with the dirty and damaged chickpeas. So that's why I don't think there is something big waiting to be exported out of Russia.
The next question. In June 10 is the last day to buy any GMO and non-GMO condition for Plant Protection Department for imports into Pakistan. How do you see the impact of prices of the Kabuli?
Actually, last time, apart from the production statistics and our consumption, plant protection is playing a major role in Pakistan's market now. So they keep on putting some new items on the menu. So they have done this, they've required that after 10th of June, whatever BL is coming, so they should mention non-GMO on the phytosanitary certificate. It is still under negotiation with the origins, but I think they'll put a little pressure on early shipments and buying whatever is available right now. Before that, when we had a limited time to import from India, like Navneet also informed that we imported about 8,000 metric tons, and it was within a short span of time. So our local market also get affected with a lot of pressure together, cargo coming in together. So let's see, there will be a pressure on early shipments from buyers from Pakistan. But till that time, maybe we'll be able to negotiate with the origins to give non-GMO certificates as well.
Thank you very much. Do you think the consumption in Spain will increase above the estimate 70 to 75,000 metric tons with such a low prices level? How much Spain will import?
Well, Spain in 2017 imported around 45,000 tons. Main origins were the US with 18,000, Mexico about 13,000, and Argentina with about 7,500 tons. If this new crop in 2018 will definitely be larger than last, but if you're asking if some players will be importing more because of the high prices, the history tells us that when there's been low prices, I mean, in the industry, the imports have gone up. So they might, yeah.
Thank you. So the next question is to Russia. What's the mean return per hectare that they will make their farmers happy against cereals?
Well, in my opinion, it is not below $500, that's for sure. If you compare with the wheat, for example, In the chickpea growing area or the alternate products, it's at least the chickpea is 1/3 per yield compared to the grains or some of the oil seeds. So it should be at least around $500. Below that, it will lose the attractivity totally by the farmers.
So let's move to the last question. Last two questions. What is the current stock in Argentina and what sizes?
Well, basically the sizes are between 7 and 8, I think. The current stock, because in the numbers you have just presented, we are talking about the final stock. Today, I think we are around 15,000 tons. In my opinion, 50% of those stock is in hands of the farmers.
Thank you. What's the price forecast for India, United States, and Mexico chickpeas going forward? And also, we should include Russia. What do you think, Pablo and all the panelists, at these prices, can we see a potential increase on the area or decrease in the area for 2019 crop?
Well, in my opinion, with the current prices, at least in Argentina, we are exactly in the limit in which farmers have to decide if they're continuing planting chickpeas or they decide to move to another crop like wheat or even go directly to a summer crop or just planting a cover crop and then planting a soybean crop, for instance.
As I said a couple of minutes ago, if the chickpeas price goes below 500, I think we will see a serious decrease in the production, or at least lower numbers from what we are looking at today.
Ron?
I think for the U.S. near term, we will see prices want to decrease a little bit as the exporters want to be able to participate in the global market. However, before they can move very much, our producers will have to start to participate in the market and show us that they're actually going to sell the lower levels before we'll reduce our prices much.
Navneet, what do you think next year? They're going to grow more or less?
Yeah, sure, it should be, I mean, with the current price level, yes, it should be definitely decrease of the seeding for the 2019 crop, maybe 20% for sure.
Also in Mexico, I think Mexico at these current prices, Mexico will grow less chickpeas for 2019 crop, especially the new area that is Obregón area, that it grows this year 80,000 metric tons, and they are normally typical growers of cereals, and they can go back to the cereals. So thank you very much in the name for all the panelists. We'd like to thank all the GPC and also all the members to be here in this Cabuli panel presentation.
Thank you.
Great work. Thank you very much, Elazar, and the whole panel. We're going to give you a small gift and also get a picture of you in front of the dais here. So if you want to move to the front, we'll get that done. Very interesting panel. You're all brilliant. I'm a farmer, though. I want prices higher. Very good. All right, very good. Thank you very much. So the next part of our program is recognition of our sponsors and the closing ceremony. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the president of the Global Pulse Confederation, Hussein Arslan, to come to the stage and recognize our sponsors. The truth is this organization couldn't function without our sponsors. And so I want to send a special thanks, really, to all of the organizations who contributed to making this event a success. So, Mr. Arslan.
How should I invite?
Randy? Randy, do you want to come to the podium as well? He's coming.
How we plan this stuff, I don't know.
Okay.
So,
I think the conference is going very well. Sudhakar, you like to come here? As Tim McGravy mentioned, we had a lot of sponsors this time, so we would like to show our appreciation. This is not enough, but we try to make them more apparent throughout all convention. And we would like to invite them here, and then we will present their trophy for this. And I would like to announce first 3-1. Main conference title, Pulse Splitting and Processing Industry. Al-Jader brothers, one of them, Mahmoud or Salim? Okay, Salim is here. Salim, first of all, I would like to thanks very much. That's beautiful hosting. Everybody loved the foods. I very often say, I know my industry, if you give them good food and good bad, they are always happy. So food is bad and bad is important.
Thank you so much.
And as you know, it is not easy to come to change the place and decide on the place for our executive committee, but you should believe that we are doing extensive due diligence and market changes, and we try not to make mistakes on any places that we are holding this event. And our staff is working extensively on this, and Randy is our general secretary. But I would like to convey my special thanks to Gökçe. Come, Gökçe, come here. So this beautiful woman have one kid, no?
Yes.
Yes. So she's doing all the works related to the convention. Since how many years?
8.
8 years. So during the presidency, like 3 years, I'm president now, and all of them she was included, and she did very well, and really we improved a lot owing to her. I'm not going to give you a trophy, but we want to take a picture together on the stage, and I want you to applaud her, sorry. So, and our number 2. This guy is here or not, I don't know. Where is Saif? This Saif, Mufaddal. Come here, Saif. He's our name badge sponsor. He spent a lot of time of energy. He's residing in Egypt. I keep calling him, he's originally Sri Lankan, but I'm not sure if you, am I right, Saif? You are from Sri Lanka originally, yeah. So he always supportive of our industry. He's one of the, let's say, oldest companies and reputable companies. And in the business side and the friendship side, personally, I have also very good relations. And I would like to thanks to him. He never said no to me to be panelist. He never said no when we needed a sponsorship. He is a man of his word. Thank you, Saif. So our good friend Jayesh is not here for ETG. Anybody from ETG here? No, I don't see, no? No. So they really, ETG, he came in last minute. You know, our conversation was in Pulse Conclave, me and Sudhakar. I said, Jayesh, you will be a titanium delegate sponsor. You know what he said? He said, yes. He didn't even ask the price, how much, what is it. So he's not here. I think he left, or because I was with him an hour ago, actually. So I would like to convey my best and successful business life for them, and thanks very much for their support. They are really one of the biggest company of pulses in the world, worldwide network. You can really rarely find in our businesses. And as I said, I will present 3 trophies, but I would go one more because gold luncheons, Lanka Agro Processing. Are they here? Yeah. You know, our friends from Sri Lanka, they did their part of sponsorship. Because before coming to Sri Lanka, everybody was worrying about what will happen about sponsors and how we are going to manage the panels. And I told them, look, don't worry. Mahmoud is there, Sri Lankan people are there, and they will be with us. And I would like to thank again for all their sponsorships. Thank you. So from now on, I like you take the lead, Sudhakar. I will be here. Okay, you continue. Okay. Then we are at Gnanam.
Okay. Maybe we can call
Rajendra.
them. Yeah, our sponsor, Mr. Rajendran from Yanam, if he can please come on the stage, we'll be very happy to felicitate him. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to hold on to your applauses. I am going to say the names of all our session sponsors, bronze sponsors, and copper sponsors. We'll line them up. This will be a nice lineup. And then you should do one round of thunderous applause. Please save your energy for that. So let me call the representative from Al Azan, Armada, Sosita Kofika, Marina Commodities, Bashan, Omega Traders, Intertech, RG Brothers, CAM Singapore, Zablon, GM Agro, Raymond Logistics, Dalian Tianjin Trading, Navik International, City Mines Lanka, Buller.
And DMCC is not here.
And when you gentlemen exiting on the right, your gift will be there one by one. It'll be. Sorry, last but not the least, Seaboard. The tick was not there, so I thought that somebody's not coming. Sorry about that. Ladies and gentlemen, now is your time for the thunderous round of applause. These are the movers and shakers and the power behind such great conferences. And this year we had 25 major sponsors, which represented, and Sri Lanka represented almost 30% of that. So please, one more round of applause and then we let these gentlemen go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on to the closing of our conference, but we do have one more event. The Global Pulse Confederation General Assembly is going to meet right now. So if you are a member of the GPC, we're going to have a short business meeting. So I'd like to call the Executive Director of the Global Pulse Confederation, Randy Duckworth, to the stage to conduct the GPC General Assembly. So, Randy, where did he go? Oh, there he is. Okay.
Okay, perfect. This is my favorite part of the meeting because it's the last part of the meeting and it's also the easiest part. So I appreciate you, those of you in the General Assembly and the Executive Committee, for sticking around. Let me go back one slide. Okay, so today we'll cover proposed bylaw changes. There aren't any. New members of the Executive Committee, very brief finance report, next convention announcement, and other business if anyone has any. Okay, it'll be very quick. Back. Next. Okay, so there are no proposed changes to the bylaws by the Executive Committee. Just thought I'd mention that. Next, new members of the Executive Committee. Sergio Raffaelli, Sarab Bhartia, Mattia Padon, Sunil Patwari, Jem Bogalsoglu, G. Rajendran Merve. Merve, you're going to have to help me out. Are you here? Okay. Antonina Skylorenko from Ukraine, Omer Vatan from Ukraine, and Judd Keller from Ukraine. Okay. So I need a motion from a General Assembly member and a second to sorry, please go back one slide. To approve our new members of the Executive Committee. Motion by Hakan Bacheche and second by Marcelo Soto. All in favor? Opposed? None. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Welcome, new members of the Executive Committee. Next. One slide. Okay, so this is the general budget summary of the Global Pulse Confederation. It's had a bit of a small change since the last time we met. We're showing a net loss of $90,000 this year. That isn't a big thing, but we've had... Can I go back one slide, please? Thank you. Smaller than expected revenues. Okay, but nothing out of the ordinary. Any questions about the general budget summary? I realize you can't all see all the details, unfortunately, but if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or... Okay, next slide. Our financial position, as of March 31st, 2018, we had $1,805,000 in our accounts, so we're in a very good financial position under the leadership of GPC President Hussein Arslan. Nice reserve. The only thing that I would mention about... Next slide. Thank you.
Our income as of March 31st reflects mostly our income, and we still have a lot of expenses associated with this convention, so that number will go down and mostly just go down over the course of the year. But we should be in the neighborhood of at $1.3 million at the end of the year. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Tim. Thanks to our finance chair. Reminds me we need to approve that. So if I could get a motion to, I'm sorry, I can't see. Cindy Brown, second. Is that Jose Maria? Jose Maria. First by Cindy Brown, second by Jose Maria Lazara. All in favor of approving our financial budget summary and financial position? All opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. That's it. I did want to make an announcement about our next convention. It's going to be in Rio de Janeiro, beautiful Rio de Janeiro, in June of 2019. We're visiting hotel sites next month and should have an announcement by the end of June as to exactly where it will be at. We really, really look forward to seeing you there. We expect it's going to be a very large crowd, probably about 1,000 in attendance this year, so make your reservations early. Any questions before we adjourn? Enjoy your lunch. Thank you so much for coming.
All right, well, we come to a close of the Global Pulse Confederation meeting here in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Again, the hospitality in Sri Lanka has been absolutely outstanding. Special thanks to the Shangri-La Hotel staff who did a great job. And I want to especially thank our folks at Citrus Worldwide who did all of our audio-visual. I'd like to thank Reza, Rafiq, and Rajith Fernando. And a special thanks to Angela Rona Singhi, who was my video consultant and my music consultant. And in fact, to close out our entire session, she introduced me to a band here in Sri Lanka, and this music video is really, really fun. So have a great time at lunch. Safe travels home. Goodbye, everyone.
කොස් ඇට උන්නට කුරුම්බා වැස්සට නොතෙමි කුඩය ගනිල්ලා රස්නෙට වෙනිවැල් බිව්වම ඇඟට හොඳා කලහේ පඩාගේ බඩ පිරිලා වක්කඩ අස්සේ හකුරු හංගලා නැති වෙන හකුරට නාහෙන් අනලා අසය පැන්නම කඩුල්ල වසනු එපා උෂ්ණත මුන්නත සෞඛද බොන්න සුදා කලහේ පඩාගේ බඩ පිරිලා අරලු පැති දෙකක් බිව්වම බඩට හිනා දාගෙන වට පිට බලලා දැස්සක් දැන් එතයි කියලා අවේ රෙදි ටික ඇතුළට ගන්න එපා කලහේ පඩාගේ බඩ පිරිලා මහදැන මුත්තගේ උපදෙස් අහලා එළුවව අරගෙන බෙල්ලෙන් කපලා කැකිල්ලේ රජුගෙන් තීන්දු අසනු එපා උෂ්ණත මුන්නත සෞඛද බොන්න සුදා කලහේ පඩාගේ බඩ පිරිලා අරලු පැති දෙකක් බිව්වම බඩට හිනා දමි උඩාවල නැති වෙන නැව් හොයලා කලහේ බලලා අවසට ඇවිදින් නෝලට බනිනු එපා ලෝක විනාසෙට ඇඟිලිත් ගැනලා අල්ලේ ඉරි මත ලෝකය තියලා සෙනසුරු අපලට ජීවිත ලියනු එපා බඩට හිනා බමිඋඩාවල නැති වෙන නැව් හොයලා යකඩ වලට විකුණමු අපි කොමිස් තියා